we containerize the PHP application along with its database and deploy it on a Kubernetes cluster. Our cluster was on Azure Kubernetes service. We saw that we were able to deploy the application, we deployed the database, and we tested the data, we tested the application, and we saw that we were able to load it on a publicly available IP. And it was fetching the information from its database. Today, we are going to continue from the step 6 onward of the Kubernetes resume challenge. First, let's remind what was the challenges of a modern web application deployment. It was consistency first. So we wanted to ensure that our application can run across various environments. We wanted to make sure we are able to scale it. It's scalable. And we wanted to make sure that our application is always available. We are able to roll out changes with zero downtime and no outage to business. So first, with consistency. We want to test the consistency that Kubernetes provides. With containerization using Docker, it allows us to encapsulate our application and its environment, ensuring it runs consistency everywhere. Kubernetes, which is a container orchestration platform, automates deployment, scaling, and management. So today, in this video, we will see that although in the last video, we deployed the application on Azure Kubernetes service, today we are going to deploy it on IBM Kubernetes service on a completely new cluster and on a completely different cloud environment. And with that, we will prove that Kubernetes can help with consistency. I have the latest solution updated here at GitHub, which is publicly available, and I put it in the description on the video, so you can follow along with me. Here you can see the Kubernetes resume challenge documentation that they put out here, so we can follow. But first, let's go to our cluster. This is our IBM Kubernetes cluster. We see I have one node. IBM offers $200 on the free account tier, and by configuring one node and changing some configuration, I was able to make it cheap. So after recording this video, I have to make sure that I shut it down. It doesn't hit my $200 credit. Interestingly, when I click this, there is an interesting dashboard that shows the element of my cluster graphically. So we see we don't have any object here yet. Once we start and create object, they will show up here. Okay, so on the command line, I already set the alias K for Kubernetes for kubectl, and I already configured the kubectl with this cluster. So now I'm just gonna run kconfig current context, making sure that I'm connecting the right cluster. This is the name of the cluster, and if I'm here, I can see that this is the right cluster name here as well. Okay, let's go and start doing the deployment. So just a quick refresher reminder, we had the website deployment. which is using the image that we uploaded on Docker Hub. Version 6 was the latest one. It uses dbconfig. It uses this config map for fetching the database configuration. Then we define the service on top of that and we expose it. Database deployment, which is this Docker image, and then we created this service for it. So what I want to draw your attention here, that I'm not going to use or touch the Docker file. In fact, we don't even need to have them here because the image is already on docker.io, and on our Kubernetes cluster it's gonna be fetched directly from docker.io. Okay, let's start with creating the database image. I'm gonna say create .fdb ecom deployment.yaml. Okay, it was created. It's gonna be showing up here soon, but before that let me check the status using pods. Okay, it was created and updated. So we had one deployment, so it created one replica set, one deployment and one pod, and we have the name here. We have the deployment name. We had one replica, so it created one pod inside the replica set. I'm going to create the service. Create DB services. Okay, we created a service. For service, we have to go here and check it out. MySQL service was created. Now, I'm going to create the website deployment. Website deployment. Website deployment, as we see, it uses this image, Massive Tech Ecom Web v6. It also uses this ConfigMap, which we haven't created yet. So I wanna show a little bit troubleshooting here and saw some tips and tricks here. So let's first create the website deployment and see if we run into an issue. Okay, we created. Let's do get pods. So it got an error. So this dashboard provides a little bit of tools as well, but since it's not available on all cloud providers, so I'm gonna focus on the command line and use the command line. We can say, okay, logs, the name of the pod, and see what's happening here. You see we got this error from server container in pod is waiting to start, but it doesn't really give us a lot of information. So what more we can do, we can say describe pod, the name of the pod, and it gives us, it says that error. So it says that first it has already present on the machine on the cluster. It was on the cluster already because I previously tested it, so image was fetched already, but it says the config map, which was referenced in the deployment file, does not exist there. And we have the file for the config map here, plain text password, which is absolutely bad practice, and so you should never do this in production or even in a real application, even for in dev environment. You should properly store password. There are various ways for Kubernetes to encrypt or use password management tools. But here, for the purpose of showing ConfigMap, let's create the ConfigMap. So as soon as I create the ConfigMap, it should automatically resolve the issue. So this deployment, website deployment, it's retrying to resolve the issue. It's doing self-healing. One of the advantages of Kubernetes was self-healing. You see, it found and it fixed the issue. So if I do another describe, it says that that's the event, but eventually it got fixed. Everything is running. I have to create the website service. So let's check which services we have. Okay, we have, this is the default Kubernetes service. We have MySQL, and now I have to create the website. Okay, created. So it was the type of load balancer. We reviewed the different services of Kubernetes in the preview. So now we need to find out which endpoint was created. If I say get svc website deployment, so we have cluster IP, external IP, but what we really need is the load balancer IP. For that, we should say describe svc and web deployment. Okay, we got an endpoint here. So load balancer, that's what we need. Here we go. We deployed our PHP application with its database on IBM Kubernetes cluster. At this point, you might say, hey Masi, was that really the best way to deploy the application? So do you mean each time we are going to deploy our application in a new environment, in a new cluster, we have to write kubectl create -f for each of us a YAML file and apply them one by one? What if we have a very large application with many configuration files? What we're gonna do? And you are absolutely correct. We shouldn't do that in a real application. In fact, there is a tool for that named Helm. It's the package manager for Kubernetes. That can be the subject of the next video. So please put comment for me under this video. Let me know if that's something you would like me to cover. I will package this very application and will deploy it using Helm. Let me know. Again, let's continue to the next step of the Kubernetes resume challenge. So on the next step, here as you see, I have it on my left side, implement configuration management. It wants us to add a feature dark mode and add a config map so we can change the config map and we'll see that it affects the application. Okay, instead of dark mode feature, I'm going to do something more fun, which requires a little bit less in terms of HTML and CSS, because that's not the focus of this video. So you see my screen. On left side, I have the web application running from my Kubernetes deployment, which I did on IBM cluster. On right side, you have my code editor. So you see we have some text that we are going to change them through the configuration. And then we will see how we can apply them with zero downtime. So here you see it says buy 2 get 3. Here is the text. I'm going to change and add a line here so it reads from environment variable. How we are going to do that is that we are going to add a line. So here it is. I'm gonna comment this. We need to move this a little bit. So, okay. So here it was buy 2 get 3. We change it so it reads this value from environment variable, a slider title, and if it didn't find this, it will print buy 2 get 3. We will do the same for everything on sale, which you can see it here. So we say that read it from a slider subtitle, and if it didn't exist, go default everything on sale. And for product list, we are saying that here you see product list. We are saying that read it from this variable. So this is the button that goes to the product list. It's right now it says show now. We are saying that if this environment variable exists, read it from there. Otherwise, show now. But let's change this text as well so that we can more easily spot our changes. Oh, I'm adding hey show now. Raw, and we will add comma here so that we can see our newest changes got affected. Okay, so we have it here. So what I'm gonna do is first I'm gonna build the image, deploy it, and then I'm going to create the ConfigMap and inject these variables into the deployment. Okay, so let's first build this image. Docker build x build -t. The name of the image was, let's check it. Nothing from memory. We check everything. So it was Massive Tech ecom web. The latest version was 12, so we are going with 13, and I'm gonna say dot. So that's the only thing I changed it here. I just changed the index.php file. Now I'm gonna push it. So the image is going get pushed to the Docker Hub. Okay, it's done. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to say, so we can do actually two things. So we can just change the value here. Maybe let's do it this time, do it that way, because other times we did it using the command line. So the other option is that we can say we can actually run it this way. Apply f website deployment, and it's going to apply the changes and load our newest. Oh, warning is missing. Okay, so you see, because the last time I did it declaratively, meaning that I used the command line. Now it says something is missing and you can just apply it here. So the way we are going to do it is again the same. So now it was actually, seems it was applied. It says deployment website was configured. So to get a confirmation, let's confirm it. It's let's get a describe, or we can say YAML. We don't need a space here. So let's check which image is running. It's v13. Okay, let's do a refresh and see what we got. Okay, you see the text we added is here. Come on, hurrah, and hey. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to create the config map, put the values we want in the config map, and then we will inject them as environment variable into the deployment, which will inject them in the container. Here is our container. Okay, let's do it. So we are going to create a new file. We will name it website text config raw properties, similar to the one we created for DB properties. This is for this text stuff. So the name we choose was a slider title, a slider subtitle, and a slider bottom text. We put it this way, so it says, okay, so that's this AI, this cursor AI that I use, that read the stuff from the index PHP and put it here. So I'm gonna change this and would say biggest sale of the year. Okay, and now it's everything on sale. Now it's suggesting the rest of it. Everything on sale. Let's say 50% off entire. Okay, 50% off everything. See all products. Yep, we are happy with it. Okay, now we are going to create a config map from this file as environment variable file. How we do it is create config map. The name of our config map is text config. Let's do text config from environment file. Website text config. Okay, it was created. Oh, and we made a mistake. We should do a dry run client and the dry run client YAML remember, because we want to be able to reuse it later. If we want to move to other platforms, we can easily create it. So this is what was created. Now it was created, however we didn't inject it into the deployment yet. First we are checking the new config map that we created. So we see this little dashboard that we have on IBM cluster shows us our data, but just note that this dashboard is not available on all the clusters. It's available on IBM Cloud and OpenShift perhaps. But if we want to see our config maps, we can do so in the command line. And we can say get config map text config. Here it is. This is the values we put in. We have data, kind, config map, and we have metadata. So now let's go ahead and inject this in our container. So this is our website deployment.yaml. We did inject some environment variable for our database connection previously. Now we are going here and add some more. So for seeing how we can find this specification, you can check the other video I put out that shows that how we can find the specification and guide through the Kubernetes original documentation. So here I'm gonna say name. This is the name of the new environment variable. This ID helped me to just with
typing and help me to do a little less typing, which is great. And just remember, these AI tools are just assistant and they can help, but always you have to know this stuff and just get help from them, at least for now. And then we are going to add another one, subtitle, and then the last one was the naming correct? A slider button text, yep. So a slider subtitle and a slider title. Yeah, so this is the name of this is the key in the environment variable, meaning these values. And this is the name of the environment variable itself, which was text config here. Oh, you see we had there is a mistake here. So the name of our environment variable is text config, but I think it read it from this file we made it maybe somehow it got it wrong. Anyway, so this is text config, it should be text config. I'm gonna put it here as well. So the name of the config map is text config, the key is this value, and the name of the environment variable that is injected into the pod is this, which means we have to have that in the, let's just double check if we use that value. So it's a slider title, okay, that's great. Now what we're gonna do, now we are going to apply this. Oh, here we got a problem. This has to be this. Okay, now we have to apply this. How we are going to apply this? And we want 0 downtime, right? We're gonna say, I think the same we did earlier. We are going to say, okay, apply -f and name of the file. That's it. Now we should see the variables here. Okay, here we go. This is the value we put in here. Biggest sale of the year. Okay, now what I want to show is that I can change this value, and then this value is gonna change. Like we have to do a restart, rollout restart, but this value will change with 0 downtime and quite easily. So let's say of the month, let's say 80%, and let's say we remove the products. Okay, what we're gonna do is I think we have to create a config map, and let's see how it works. I'm not sure if we can override the config map or what. Create cm text config. This is and file. failed to create already exist. Okay. Okay, I think perhaps it's better if we remove it first then. Okay, let's remove it. We can say delete the config map. We create with the new value. Now we will do, so we created with the new value, but here we won't see the difference yet because we didn't restart the deployment. So it fetched already the value and it's running. It's not continuously checking for the new values. We can say get name of the deployment, and I think if we do a rollout restart of deployment, we can get new values in. Let's try it out. I'm not really sure. If we do rollout deployment, we should say restart unknown command. Oh, I think we should say restart here. The server doesn't have a resource name. Oh, we have a typo here. Deploy. Okay, it was restarted. Let's see if this value got applied. Biggest sale of the month, 80%. Okay, that's it. We were able to show the availability, which means we were able to apply the changes we want with zero downtime and no outage to the application. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.